All right, all right, all right. Um, Hello everyone. Welcome. And I'm going to get started because this is a timed presentation, but thank you all for joining. This is a two-phase presentation. There will be a break after this one, and an in-person presentation will follow from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m., located in the Skill Lab. So for those of you unsure where that is, I'm referring to the computer lab in the basement of the Health and Life Sciences building. The projects I talk about there will be reiterated and demonstrated there, where you'll be able to try the experiences for yourself. Let's see. So everyone here knows me. Yeah, surely. But given that this is being recorded and I'm going to share this online, I'm going to introduce myself. Then we'll preface. I'm sorry. Can y'all hear me? It says I'm giving audio, but I just got a text, so I want to make
Yes,
sure.
sir. You sound great.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
awesome.
Got a text. Okay, sweet. Thank you, thank you. So, as I was saying, I'm going to preface some of what to expect in this presentation. And so my name's John, though many people refer to me by Johnny. And by the end of this week, I'm going to have my Bachelor of Arts in Collaborative Audio. For this presentation, I'm going to briefly talk about some classes I've taken here. Then we'll jump straight into some projects where each one shows off a unique way to approach sound design using the Wwise sound engine. I'm going to cover the production, authoring, and implementation process for sounds and music, which will give us a chance to glance at some other software used for composition, recording, and editing. After the projects will be Devlogs, which is a video documentary covering my learning journey, and I'm excited to reflect on and show you a bit of what that looks like and where you can access it. And then the last section, careers, I'll share some insights regarding the hiring process for audio roles in the video game industry. I've talked to some cool people through Game Sound Con, LinkedIn, basically networking, and I'm interested in sharing some takeaways there. And that will wrap everything up. And with the time we have left, I'm going to turn my camera on and then open the room for questions. So let's begin. Here's a quick snippet of classes I've taken throughout my semesters. So when I enrolled in collaborative audio, I picked up a minor in augmented and virtual reality. This was an interdisciplinary study during my academic career, and I used the skills gained from there and tied them into audio. Some of those skills being programming, graphic design, 3D modeling, and more. And this final project that I'll be sharing will bring together many of these skills, whereas the projects I will now move on to are going to demonstrate some cool ways of conducting sound design. And so we begin with a project called Clip Master. This is a learning experience inspired by puzzle game mechanics. So the player is instructed to monitor the decibel levels of music. And in this room is a radio. It plays songs, and it does so at a certain level that can be adjusted. What it's up to you to do is to determine if that music is playing at decent levels. And when you feel so, you click the submit button when you're comfortable, to which you'll receive a rating from 1 to 3 stars based on whether the music is too quiet, too loud, or healthy listening levels. And so for composition, I used two tracker software that I've composed with, Fami Tracker and Furnace. You could run this experience with any music. I just used what I happen to have WAV files of. Anyways, Wise is capable of letting you configure music playlists that play in the experience. It could do so in a sequence, it could be shuffled randomly. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like. In this video, you'll see a playlist I've made that shows what song is playing with a yellow arrow. And I'm going to go through like two different behaviors that you can observe and see how the playlist goes through music. All right. And so the two behaviors that you saw from the playlist there, one was a sequence where it just goes from song to song, and the other one was random step, which is just like putting your playlist on shuffle. Um, the structure can become a lot more elaborate, which I'll be showing in a later project. But for now, let's talk about the music's spatialization, because Wise allows for positioning properties, which, if enabled, creates 3D spatialization in your scene. In this game's case, I have this picture to the right here where there's a window that says main camera. This is your point of view, and Wise knows this. It can take into account your position in the environment and where the music is playing from, which means it can pan the music from one ear to the other based on the orientation of your head. It can also lower the volume of the radio as it gets further and further away from you. And so I have another video here where you'll be able to hear what I just explained. You'll also get to see some audio visualization in action, both on a volume meter and on the player's hands. I've used what's called an RTPC, or a real-time parameter control, to reference the levels of the music and then relay that to the game. And depending on the volume levels, it's going to affect your hand color and how the volume meter fluctuates. All right. So yeah, that's a bit of audio spatialization, and then just one of the many use cases for an RTPC. You saw the meter fluctuating in the hands, but we'll be viewing more ways later. This next project expands on music playlists and is a game called Into the Nucleus. It is a puzzle adventure virtual reality experience that utilizes concepts from Wise's interactive music certification. And so, what I want to talk about is a bit about composition and what I've used Wise for when feeding it different types of music. Let's see what that means. So, composing dynamic music was something done for this project. And to help distinguish the differences between a regular composition to a dynamic one, I've composed three themes: a title, a puzzle, and an explore theme. Each one was done in Ableton, though the title theme is different from the puzzle and explore ones. I composed and exported the full title song in Ableton, and what you see here are all of the parts on a timeline, which can be played back for a full run through of the song. Now, the puzzle and explore themes are a bit different. You see, the title theme, when it loops, it's just going to play the same song again, and there will be no differences. However, the other two themes have multiple parts composed for a single instrument, and using Wise, I can determine which of those parts play every X amount of measures. This means that when a song loops, you may hear a different iteration of a bass line, a different part of the percussion. Maybe one of those parts won't even play. And the reason that this works is because of structure, which is something Wise needs in order for the loops or transitions to sound seamless. The idea behind the puzzle and explore pieces is that when the player is exploring versus when they enter a room with a puzzle, I want Wise to recognize the game has undergone a musical state of change and should react by transitioning from one theme to the other. For Wise to control different elements of my composition, each instrument has to get exported separately to be an individual component that Wise can control. This is why I have so many files all related to the same song, which gets fed to Wise, and I can begin configuring the behavior of the transitions, which instruments potentially play each measure, if one instrument sequences a specific way, or if an instrument should just not potentially play. One of the things that helps greatly with this process is naming conventions. For example, this top audio file, top left here, within the Explore A folder, reads as follows. Explore A, the name and iteration of my theme. Base 1, one of the base's iterations. 75 BPM, the tempo of the piece. 3-4, the time signature being 3/4 notes in a measure. L2M, meaning this audio file is 2 measures long, and P0, which indicates there is 0 pickup measures. This is all important information, and when you have it in the file names before transferring into Wwise, it makes plugging in all of that info much easier. So to show you what I mean, I'm going to use what's called a Soundcaster session. In Wwise, this is something you can use quickly to debug and demonstrate audio systems for your game, and is the quickest way for me to show you how the music transitions during gameplay, should a change be prompted. I'll also have footage of the game overlaying this screen recording, and it's going to relate to whatever music is playing. So you can sort of see how the title theme, it loops, it's the same thing each time, but then jumping between puzzle and explore. Explore is a bit more subtle, lean back to complement gameplay, whereas puzzle gets a bit more intense. And so there's a lot of things happening in Wwise that make this possible, but it could get even more complex and fun, which it does in the 201 certification. But this demonstration shows off dynamic music pretty well and was just my chance to practice a whole new approach to composition. The next project I wanted to talk about is Ghost of the Argonne. This is a virtual reality recreation of the M1897 artillery cannon, otherwise known as the French 75. At this point, we've covered dynamic music, audio reactive objects, and spatialized sounds, but this project is going to demonstrate creating cinematic moments with game syncs, as well as defining interaction-based sounds and ambiances with some methods in Wwise I haven't shared. So first is how I created or obtained sounds. I did some Foley work for this project, acquired sounds from online, and then edited them in either Adobe Audition or Wwise. This video clip is just me jumping between software, where you'll see how a single sound effect changes as I mess with it, and am quickly and repetitively previewing my changes. So that, along with more, you'll get to hear in both scenes of this experience. And this is the first scene. It's a void-like setting with objects related to World War I populating a natural environment. Now, in the picture to the right, you see a few blue hexagonal icons surrounding the zoomed out view of the scene. These are where my sounds are coming from and are spatialized, just like the radio in the first project, but they possess a few extra properties that make them more unique. All of the ambient sounds are sounds of war, so cannon fire, gunfire, a scattered chorus of booms and bangs. However, this can become annoying to hear when you're in this environment for a long time, and so I use some tools that help with randomizing properties each time a sound is played. Every ambient sound is stored in a random container, and so each time a sound is played, it will choose a sound from within that container, and a random one. I applied pitch and low pass randomization to each sound so that it was a bit different each playback, and then I messed with the timing using delays and fade-ins so that the game's soundscape never develops predictability. To help with editing multiple sounds at once, I used what's called an actor mixer for putting everything in, which allowed for me to apply effects to all sounds at once and create a spacious aesthetic. And that is this object in the left image you see here that says 3D weaponry. I put my effects in there and it affects all the objects beneath it. Um, let's take a listen to the title scene. All right. Let me add here. All right, there we go. So in the next level, the same ambiences I just shared exist, but now there's a cannon the player can interact with. The process for loading and firing this cannon is as follows. Grabbing a shell, opening the breech, and then putting in the shell, closing the breech, then pulling a pulley and letting go to fire. When designing sounds for these actions, some come easily, whereas others require unique behaviors. For example, when the player is opening the breech, a metal grating sound would be heard, but should stop when the player lets go. At first, I thought this was as simple as telling the sound to play when the player grabs the handle, but that would mean it could play even when the handle is not moving, so long as you're gripping the handle. I instead had to use one of Wise's game syncs called states that influenced the audio whenever the player grabbed or let go of the handle. Depending on the action, the audio would then quickly fade in or out. My use of states in game syncs came in handy for many other instances, one of my favorite being the climactic moment where you fire the cannon. And when I play this video, you'll see exactly what I mean. Um, but those projects all used Wise in different ways. And so for my senior project, I wanted to take these ways of applying my skills in audio and then combine them with programming, art, and composing. I ended up with this main menu scene for a video game that is one of the big points of my video documentary. Here's a look at that, and for this demonstration, it's just a listening experience on the Unity game engine. This is honestly a glimpse at the types of in-depth and game design of the in-depth sound and game design I could get into, but here's the takeaway I wanted to share, which is that Wise's toolkit is applicable to multiple game engines, and it's powerful. When I collaborate with people who are familiar with different game engines, I can integrate Wise into that project and provide great sound design without having to learn a new game engine's audio tools, which can be pretty different as you jump from engine to engine. Some things will change, potentially the implementation and setup on the game engine side, as well as the scripting language. But those learning curves are way more minor than learning a whole new audio toolkit. And more importantly, all of your sound authoring is happening on Wise, the same interface and tools no matter the game engine you choose. And so, my devlog series. This is something I started when my senior project kicked off. It's been very helpful, and it covers milestones as well as my learning journey through the WISE 201 and 301 certifications. This series, along with music and other content, is on my YouTube channel. Having to create videos explaining the things I'm learning has been super beneficial compared to note taking, and is something that not only helps me, but can help others. And so I plan to continue developing videos, furthering this series in relation to the video game it's for, and then starting a new series geared toward audio tutorials and Wise. We're getting near the end, and I wanted to wrap things up by discussing careers. So there are many audio positions for the video game industry, the film industry, all of which require sound design. I'm particularly interested in video games, and so that's why all the company names you see to the right are related to that. In many of the applications I've filled out, experience using an audio middleware is favored, such as Wise or Fmod. This is usually for AAA titles, but with Wise's indie license they released last year, Wise is usable at an indie production level for free. That means entry-level opportunities in the indie world are now ones I could offer my skills in Wise with, and of course, composition and creating sound assets. There's a high abundance of these opportunities in the indie development area that yield the type of experience full-time careers are looking for. And so I bookmarked this thread made by Richard Ludlow. He's the lead audio director and co-founder of Hexany Audio, which is it's an audio post-production studio based in Los Angeles. I have some takeaways from their hiring process and some considerations I wanted to share. Demo reels. They're great. They're not something I obsess over. However, they show off your skills towards something in an impactful format. A lot of applications that come into the a lot of applications come into the industry, and so it's nice, arguably very important, to have a reel that shows you off quickly, yet can leave an outstanding impression on someone. I've made a reel for composition, Wise implementation and sound design, and I'm looking to do a sound redesign reel next. And so I use these reels and other portfolio pieces as a way to reach out to audio professionals on social media. Social media is where I learned about sound redesign reels in the first place. I had found the opportunity on LinkedIn to video chat with a senior sound designer from Riot Games, Nathan Schroeder. One of the things he made clear to me was the importance of time. How much do you have? How long does it take to customly make sounds? And have I considered using a sound library? This was all geared toward the idea of work smarter, not harder, and understanding that in the industry, people use sound libraries all the time, but it comes with a cognizance, a responsibility of possessing clear vision, having taste for the right sound, potentially cleaning it up if needed, all to make sure it serves its purpose and pleases not just yourself, but your audience. And so I've been gathering footage from my favorite video games that are very cinematic and have great potential for meticulous sound design, all while looking at this YouTube channel you see here that reviews other people's demo reels, which is good for gaining inspiration and understanding what makes a good reel. Lastly, and I've somewhat addressed this already, is experience, which there are many ways of getting. I have methods on this slide, but I'm just going to leave it at this, which is to just start reaching out and communicating. I make it a point to sit once a week and take my time searching for opportunities, reaching out to people with questions and interests, then to dial back in on developing my portfolio. And this is a good balance. It's not a chore either because all of it is related to what I enjoy. And so the people doing what I love are the folks I want to meet and get to know. Not ask for some sort of secret answer to obtaining a job, but to reach out and praise someone's work, letting them know that, hey, you've truly inspired me, and then to follow up with question seeking advice. And that wraps up the presentation. Before I open us up to questions, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who attended. And if you plan to be at the in-person presentation at 12:30 p.m. in the skill lab, I look forward to showing off these projects in person and giving you a chance to try out the experiences for yourself. And so for questions, let's see, how do we want to do this? Let me turn on my camera first. I guess you can just text and chat, or you can emote, whatever you want. But what do y'all got?
Johnny, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, buddy, this is Professor Spice. Your senior project is truly impressive, showcasing not only your passion for game audio, but also the dedication that you poured into it, all the time that you spent creating all these videos to share with us. I think that your integration of collaborative audio arts with the virtual augmented reality aligns seamlessly with your aspirations in the video game industry. And I just want to say I'm proud to have played a part in your learning experience. And I am eager to see your presentation this afternoon in person. Great job, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone else got any questions? Let me open the chat. Has anyone been texting in that? All right. Well, there is 8 minutes left on this Zoom session. Oh, Luke, you got a question? I'll say, sweet. What has been the hardest thing you learned this year, and how did you learn it? That's a good one. And I have an immediate answer, which is um, one of the things that the certifications does not teach is how to build a project once you've finished making sound design. Because when you're doing sound design for a project, it's all happening in a project file with Wwise integrated into it, and it works at the time. But if you're working with a team of people, then you tend to be, updating the project, sending it to someone else and saying, hey, here's what I added. And then they take that and then they do their work. And one of the things that Wwise is really famous for doing that I learned the hard way is it likes to disappear from the project when you take it and you try to share it with someone. And so I had to figure out how to not let that happen, which the simple answer is when you share the project with someone, you take Wwise out and then you reintegrate it. But during the time that I had been experiencing the problem, it had been like this 2 month dive on the internet of like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, why are all my sounds disappearing? Like, they're here on the project, but when we build the application, they're not there. So that was the hardest learning curve I've experienced so far. And then, Jaden, you said you have a question?
Yes, my question was, how long is the presentation going to be at noon?
It's I reckon it'll be shorter at least in terms of lecture. I'll be covering some
Mhm.
of what I've covered in these projects here, but a lot more concise. And my plan is to just get everyone trying out the experiences and to be there to answer any questions they have. So I would say, well, how long was this? Like 30 minutes, maybe 40. It'll definitely be shorter than that.
You said in the Keys Labs, correct?
Yeah, so the skill lab, which is in the basement of the Health and Life Sciences building. Do you know where that is?
Yeah.
With all the
Yes.
computer. Okay, yeah. So that'll be taking place from 12:30 to 1:30.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Ethan, you have a question?
Yes, sir. So I was wondering what got you into making sounds and why do you seem to favor chiptune?
Um, it's really just when I came into the program, I came in as a musician and a composer on like my phone because I didn't have a computer. And I was interested in music and sound in general. And so when I came here, the big question I had was, how can I take this further? And when I visited the campus, met Professor Spice, I just was really interested in the classes, the curriculum, and I decided, if I'm going to be learning new skills and developing my portfolio, I might as well continue to work with what I'm comfortable with, and passionate about. One of those things being chiptune, and so I sort of channeled that inspiration into my future projects while also spreading myself out. Because I mean, one of the DAWs that I picked up while here at Shenandoah was Ableton. I learned Ableton and developed a more diverse palette of composition and I think that answers the question, right? Yeah. Well, sweet. We got 4 minutes left, but if no one has any more questions, then again, thank you for showing up. And I really look forward to presenting in person. And if you're going to be there, you know, I'll see you then. All right. I'm gonna end it. Y'all have a good day.